Yo, what up, what up? Today I'm going to be talking about a $1,000 camera mistake, specifically this film camera here, the Contax G2. Now, I bought this camera back in the summer of 2019, just a day after my birthday, back in June. And I had actually been eyeing this camera for a minute. I wanted something small, something discreet, something specifically I could take to London that wouldn't be very cumbersome. Now, I was doing a bit of research. I actually went to this shop here in Seattle. I think I've mentioned it on this channel before. Shot on Film Store, great place to get cameras. Sometimes they're a little bit slightly overpriced, but I was okay with paying a little bit more than what I'd probably usually pay if I'd get it on eBay, just because I was there in person. Now, at the time of this purchase, I was just planning to buy the body for the camera, no lenses, but I ended up picking up a 35mm lens for this camera as well on eBay. But I paid a little over $1,000 for the body. Now, at the time, I was under the assumption that the camera was working, and it turns out it wasn't. I bought this camera, and a couple weeks later, I went on a shoot with one of my friends, and I only ended up getting a 1 1/3 exposure, if you even want to call it that, right in the middle of the roll of film. Not at the beginning, not at the end, in the middle. So somewhere during that cycle, the camera, I guess, wanted to work a little bit. So I guess the main issue with the camera was the shutter was not opening to expose the negative. Now, I had been doing some research on where I could possibly send this. I was thinking about sending it out of the country. I was looking for places on the West Coast. I've heard of some places like in SoCal, LA, around that area, but I was starting to get into the forums and things online and doing a little bit of research, and I found a camera shop finally, Nippon Photo Clinic in New York. So the main reason I wanted to buy the camera, it didn't get used for that purpose, but totally fine. Okay, so I ended up obviously spending $1,000 on the camera. I put about around $300 to $400 into fixing it, and before I even went to that measure, I actually brought the camera back to the shop to get some sort of refund. There was no way I was going to get 100% refund on it. They only want to give me about, I want to say like 70% in store credit for the camera. And I was like, man, you know what? This camera is like in good shape. I didn't want to do that option of not being able to fully get what I paid for, essentially. So I actually went to return it, and I was going to wait till something came in that I wanted. But a few days later, I called them up. I went back to pick up the camera. I said, man, I'm going to get this fixed. Like, I brought it back. They had somebody that worked for the store that was able to fix them, but I guess they didn't want to touch contacts. And then I brought it to another store in Seattle, and they were scared to touch the camera as well. So from everything I read online, it was kind of scary making the purchase before, because everything that I read and saw was that if you buy this camera and it breaks, nobody's going to fix it, basically. Nobody services this camera, but there are people out there who do service them. So I ended up sending it out to Nippon, and they ended up being able to fix the shutter. Now, I don't remember the exact definition of it, but I'll bring it up here so you guys can see it on what they found. So I get the camera back early October, and at this point, the camera has just been sitting for a while and not getting used. So my first big test with the camera was taking it up to Vancouver. Super easy trip from Seattle, just hopping on the train. End up shooting a roll of Cinestill 800T and Kodak Pro Image 100. I had really been looking forward to getting a type of camera like this, one that I could just point and shoot. Just super small, compact, and just really able to take it anywhere that I went. So the next major test I brought it to was LA. I set up some test shoots out there, ended up using my RZ and then the G2 as well, just to shoot some 120 and 35, just have a mixture of that. But that was the next major test. I used it in all 4 of my shoots that I did. 4. I think I did 4. I've lost count, but there's going to be some videos to come on the way from that. And I was definitely loving the results. Definitely love the ease of just being able to focus, shoot, just point and shoot. That's really what it is. It's come down to. I really loved the 35, and then after that time, I ended up using it like literally right at the end of the year for a shoot that I did 2 looks for, and it turned out pretty good. So I've been sharing some of these images on my Instagram, if some of you guys have seen, but I've been loving the camera. Now, at the time, I was definitely up in arms and iffy about the whole situation of purchasing the G2 and being scared and spending that much money on a film camera. But anyway, I've I've really been loving the G2. There's a way to actually check the shutter count on this, and I found that on later on. And I think the shutter count on this, it was only, I think it was just like a little over 1,000 on the shutter count. I don't remember. If I do end up finding it somewhere, I'll just throw it up here what the actual shutter count is. But yeah, man, it's been working pretty good for me. Just love the usability of it. It's just an awesome form factor for me and great usage. In one camera, I can basically take everywhere. So yeah, it's been pretty good for me. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you're new around here, don't forget to subscribe. And you guys already know what it is, man. I'll see you guys in the next one. Holla.